So, for college football fans, the worst time of the year is now upon us. Spring practice and spring games and scrimmages are over. As we've seen over the weekend out at Colorado, Deion Sanders lost 17 players over the weekend to the transfer portal. And that portal is open to anybody right now. They had to wait until after spring ball, but my beloved Wolverines, they lost 3 players over the weekend. And sometimes I just don't understand why, especially when your team is just one of a handful that has a chance to win the national championship this season. To go for a three-peat in the Big Ten, where you should be heavily favored. And I'm going to break down why. Now, as you can see, my board behind me, in the Big Ten East, Illinois, that's not a threat. They made some inroads last year, but they just don't have the talent. They don't have the depth. Brett Bielema is a tremendous coach, and he will always get more out of his players than previous coaches. But he's never going to be able to do for Illinois what he did at Wisconsin. Iowa. Now, there is an interesting situation because they have 2 highly decorated transfers that came from, of all places, Michigan. Tight end Eric Hall and our quarterback from 2021 who led us to a Big Ten championship and our first appearance in the college football playoff, Cade McNamara. And that also included a victory over Ohio State, ending a drought of 8 straight defeats. But he was a game manager, and Michigan needed someone who could open up the entire field, and that brought in J.J. McCarthy. However, Cade will do for Iowa what Spencer Petras and all of their other quarterbacks couldn't do, as long as Kirk Ferentz decides to open up the offense. If he does that, Iowa could be a big threat in the Big Ten West. They play outstanding defense. I was at the game last year when Michigan went to Iowa City, and they do play stellar defense. And by the way, I'd like to commend the fans out at Iowa. I've been to several Big Ten road games where Michigan has went, and I haven't been impressed by many of the stadiums or the fans, but Iowa, you have a top-notch facility. You've got the Children's Hospital in the background. You've got the Children's Wave at the end of the first quarter, which was just stunning to see. Your fans are very knowledgeable. They're very friendly. They accepted the Michigan fans. Now, during the game, it was all Iowa, but during timeouts, they would turn around and talk to us just about the game we were watching, the Big Ten in general, other games that were taking place that day. The best fans that I have seen so far in the conference. Minnesota. Have no idea what to expect from them. PJ Fleck He's a good coach. Not a great coach, but a good coach. And he lost some key components, especially his running back, Ibrahim. He's got to bring in a new quarterback. But anytime you go up to Minneapolis to play, and Michigan will go there, that will be their first road game of the year. And more than likely, that will be a night game. It will be for the Little Brown Jug. That will be a tough game. But I don't expect Minnesota to compete for the Big Ten West. Nebraska, you've got a new coach and Coach Rule. You've basically got a brand new team. Who knows what to expect from Nebraska? They could win 8 games this year. They could win 4. They could win 6. Will they compete for the Big Ten West? No. Northwestern. It was just a few years ago that they were in the Big Ten championship game 2 times in 3 years. Now they've fallen off the map. And they're not going anywhere soon. I know they've got in plans to take Evanston Stadium. Well, it's not Evanston Stadium. I'm forgetting the actual name for at the moment. It used to be called Dyke Stadium, but they're going to be doing a massive overhaul of that stadium. I've been there. It's a quaint little place, but it does look like something that you would find in the Mid-American Conference. But Northwestern, sad to say, you're looking at probably last place finish. Purdue, you've got a new coach. Coach Braun left you right after the Big Ten championship game. You've got too many pieces that you've got to try to plug. It's going to be a tough year for you. Wisconsin, this is the big wild card. You've got Luke Fickell, tremendous coach. He did great things for Cincinnati. Took them to a college football playoff appearance against Alabama. What does he do in his first year? It's very difficult in that first season to be able to put all the pieces together and run off 9, 10, 11 wins, win the Big Ten West, compete for the Big Ten championship, and try to get to the CFP. Now, if anyone can do it, it will be Fickell, and Wisconsin is going to change up their offense from a run-heavy offense to more of a probably 60-40 pass run. Wisconsin's had it a little difficult the past couple of years. And going up to Camp Randall to play isn't that difficult anymore. But I do believe if anyone comes out of the Big Ten West, it will be Wisconsin. Now, if we look at the Big Ten East, Rutgers, maybe not, you'll be bowl eligible. That's about it. Michigan State, same thing. You came off a year in which you did not go to a bowl game. You've got so many missing pieces. It's going to be very difficult when you have to play Washington. Now, you do get the Huskies at home, but they've got Michael Penix at quarterback, and he torched your secondary last year. And more than likely, he'll do it again this season. Because I don't see where you've improved that much at all. But you got to face Washington, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. It's going to be very difficult for you to become bowl eligible. You're basically going to have to run the table against everyone else to get there. Maryland. I can see you going possibly 6-6, 7-5. Not much more. You've got Tagovailoa still there, quarterback, who's very dangerous, but he is a off and on, hot cold quarterback. So we'll have to see. Indiana. They won't be going bowling this year. So that leaves us with Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. All these teams will be preseason top 10. Ohio State and Michigan will be preseason top 4. I expect Michigan to come in at number 2 behind Georgia, because Georgia, you have to place them at number 1, even though they've lost Stetson Bennett and so many other valuable components that are going to the NFL draft. Until somebody can knock them off the top of the hill, you've got to place them at number 1. But Michigan is probably as much or more returning talent than any team in the country. Spearheaded by J.J. McCarthy, Donovan Edwards, and Blake Corum. Their defense is probably going to be as good or better than last year, which was outstanding, except against TCU. But Michigan has to go on the road to Michigan State. It's going to be tough. Rivalry game. We know what happened last year in the tunnel in Ann Arbor. Mel Tucker, he's going to want revenge. He's going to pull out all the stops to try to pull off the huge upset. But that won't happen. Michigan's just got too much firepower. Penn State, they're putting in place a new quarterback. I know he's a 5-star. Ohio State, same thing. C.J. Stroud is gone, and you're putting in another brand new quarterback. They've barely seen the field. Ohio State, I'm telling you folks right now, they have to go to Notre Dame. I expect the Irish to win that ball game. The Buckeyes have to go to Ohio or to Wisconsin. And I think Wisconsin will knock off Ohio State. That's going to be 2 losses. Then they've still got to play Penn State. That game will be in Columbus. I see that sort of a 60-40 game in favor of Ohio State. But Penn State always plays them extremely close. And the Nittany Lions are overdue, to finally get a piece of the Buckeyes and walk out of there with a win. So Ohio State's going to have two, maybe even three losses before they even come in Ann Arbor. And Michigan at that time, I expect, now there's always going to be some minefields in your schedule. You're going to play a game where you didn't do very well, just like we did last year against Illinois, where we just barely escaped on the last second field goal by Jake Moody. But if Michigan does what they're supposed to do, if they stay healthy, they should be, and I'm not being a homer, I'm being realistic, they should be undefeated when Ohio State comes into the big house. Now, once again, the greatest game in all of sports would take place on that day. But I just can't see Ohio State with a rookie quarterback coming into the big house for the first time, leading the Buckeyes to a victory over a much more talented veteran Michigan team. I see Michigan then being either the number one or the number two seed in the college football playoff, because they're going to go to the Big Ten championship game, where more than likely I expect them to take on Wisconsin in what should be a tough game. But once again, Michigan will have the talent. They'll have the depth. They'll have the experience. I expect them to have a three-peat, to be undefeated 13-0, and to be either number one or number two in the country. And that means if they can just get past that first semifinal game, because 2 years ago we played Georgia, I wasn't disappointed in that game because you could see just how much more talented Georgia was in every aspect. Georgia deserved that win. They deserved their national title. Last year against TCU, I don't know what happened. I think we came into the game a little cocky. I don't think we took TCU as serious as we should have. But you get down 21-0. You almost have to throw out your entire game plan and go into emergency mode to try to get back into the game, which we did. Now, we got screwed over a couple times by the officials. Big time. And that could have changed the complexion of the entire game. But the bottom line is, if we played that game 10 times against TCU, we win 9 of them. And that game in the Fiesta Bowl last year, well, that was that one game. You're going to see TCU this year have quite a bit of problems. They will go bowling, but you're not going to see them in the discussion for the CFP. So Michigan needs to get past that first semifinal game. They need to get one in the bank. They need to get to the national title game to where they can finally pull out everything in the playbook, put all their weapons to use. And more than likely, they're looking at playing either Alabama or Georgia or LSU. And if you're going to win a national title, let's face it, the SEC has ruled the college football world for basically the last 15 years. So Titletown runs through the SEC. And if you want to grab that trophy, you got to take it right out of their hands. And there would be no better way, in my opinion, than if you could play Alabama and take it from Nick Saban. So I'll have more updates on college football as the season approaches. Michigan just yesterday got two big time recruits, two 4-stars. We currently have the number one recruiting class in the country now. That's going to change. I expect that when everything is said and done, we'll have a top 5 class, which is outstanding compared to the previous year when I believe we had the 18th or 19th ranked class. So Harbaugh and his coaches are doing a tremendous job. And they're still after more 4 and 5-star recruits. And from what I'm hearing, that there is possible good news on the horizon that could, if we latch on to some of these young men, we could end up with the number 1 class. But if you've got a top 5, you're still going to do awfully good. So that's it for today. And I'll be back. Like I said, it's the off season. We've got May, June, July to wait. Over 90 days before we can get to August when fall camp breaks. But even then, 1st of August, it's 30 days until game day. And you have to hope that during fall camp that you don't hear any bad news that any of our star players have went down with a major injury that puts them out for the year. So until I receive more information, that's it for today. Go Blue, and just I guess we'll have to watch the United States Football League because that will take us into July at least. So there will be some action. So other than that, have a good day, and I'll see you soon.